All right, everyone, we are going to go ahead and get started. So first of all, I would like to welcome you all to this business meeting town hall. My name is Rosemary. I am the Deputy Division Head for the WSFS Division. I'm very excited to see so many people here today, so thank you all for coming. I want to let you know that we are planning on keeping everyone muted and keeping the cameras off. So only the people who are presenting should have cameras on. We are recording this meeting, so it will be available later. For questions, we are going to use the Zoom Q&A function. So if you look across the bottom or click behind your More button, you'll find a quotation box with a question mark in it, the Q&A. And that is where you can put all your questions. We will address the questions after the presentation is over. If for some reason you are unable to put your question into the Zoom Q&A, you can reach out after the meeting is over to our help email address, which is bm-help@seattleinc2025.org. That's bm-help@seattleinc2025.org. I'm very happy to go ahead and introduce you all to our presenter today. This is Jesi Lipp, our business meeting presiding officer. So take it away, Jesi.
Hi, everyone. Like Rosemary said, I'm Jesi. I use they, them pronouns, and I'm serving as the presiding officer for the business meeting for Seattle in 2025. So just to get started, because we had to cancel the first town hall that we originally had scheduled, I'm just going to do a brief overview about the business meeting and how to submit items for anyone who had been hoping to get information from the first town hall about that. So the business meeting is essentially, it's how we change the rules of Worldcon, which are contained within the Constitution. So things like how the Hugos are administered, what our Hugo categories are, how we determine future Worldcon sites. These are all things in our Constitution that we can amend at the business meeting. Those changes to the Constitution have to be approved by 2 consecutive meetings. There are also specific rules about how we run the business meeting. We call those the standing rules, and they can be changed at the business meeting. And the meeting can also adopt resolutions and also hears reports from committees. Anyone who has an attending supplement or this year a virtual attending supplement can participate in the meeting. So this year's meeting will have reports from committees like the Mark Protection Committee, the Nitpicking and Fly Specking Committee, which is essentially basically functions as a rules committee that suggests sort of technical changes to our rules, as well as several committees that are one-year committees that were created at last year's business meeting. So we have a committee that's looking specifically at the process of how we administer the Hugos, one that's looking at the process of how the business meeting operates, one that's looking at the softwares that we use in running things like the Hugos, and site selection and making recommendations there. A committee about Worldcon locations and any recommendations or changes we might want to make to how that works. And then also a committee on investigation that was created out of responding to some of the things that happened as part of the 2023 Hugo Award administration. So all of those committees will, well, hopefully they'll all have reports to give. They should. And they may also be recommending or bringing forward specific proposals. And then we also have 9 amendments, constitutional amendments that were passed at Glasgow that we'll be voting on the ratification of. If you go to the business meeting page on the Seattle website, there's a link to the business passed on document that has the details of those. So if you want to submit something to the business meeting, you can email it to bm-submit@seattleinc2025.org. If one of my folks could maybe toss that address in the chat, that would be great. It's bm-submit at. Your proposal should contain a short title, the text that you are wanting to edit in either the Constitution or the standing rules, or the text of like resolution that you're wanting to adopt. At least 2 sponsors, both of whom need to be WSFS members, and a brief rationale. I recommend looking at previous year's agendas, all of which can be found on wisfs.org, WSFS.org, to see what folks normally include in that rationale, and get an idea for what you might want to put there. The deadline to submit proposals is end of the day Pacific time, June 4th. Any reports, including from committees and financial reports from previous WorldCons, have the same deadline and should be submitted in the same way. If you need help crafting a proposal, business meeting staff are happy to help you do so, but just keep in mind that the closer to the deadline you reach out to us, the less likely it is that we're going to be able to help you craft a proposal in time. And then per our rules, we will have 7 days to put together the agenda. And so then that should be published on June 11th. So there's more information on the Seattle in 2025 website at that business meeting page. And so I invite you to look there. And then also, as Rosemary said, you can put questions in the chat if you have questions about sort of how the business meeting works and how to submit things. So this year, for the first time ever, we are going to be having an online business meeting rather than one that happens at an in-person, that's the word, an in-person meeting at the WorldCon. In this way, we are hoping to expand participation in the business meeting to folks who normally are not able to attend. So we're going to be using a platform called Lumi Meeting as our meeting platform. I've worked with them in the past for a different event and was really impressed with everything that they can offer us. So this is a platform that handles voting, requests to speak, document management, and also contains an integrated Zoom webinar. So I'm going to share some screens, some images, screenshots. Once again, that's the word. Of what this will look like. So you'll access the platform by going to a link that will be provided and logging on with credentials that will be provided to you. And this is essentially what that screen is going to look like. Specific details about how you get those credentials are going to be included in that agenda that's going to be published on June 11th. And I believe there should also be an email that goes out to members with that information and other sort of details about the virtual meeting. And as I said earlier, anyone with an attending or virtual attending supplement can participate in the business meeting. If you're on a payment plan per convention policy, that payment plan needs to be completed by May 30th. If you have any questions about that, email registration at. I'm realizing that I did not put in my script what the dates and times of the virtual meeting are. So that was silly of me. Let me pull that up. So the business meeting will be taking place across 4 dates prior to the WorldCon. So all of these will be starting at 9 a.m. Pacific time and running to about 12:30 p.m. Pacific time with, the exact start and stop will sort of depend on where we are in the order of things. The first meeting will be Friday, July 4th. And then the second meeting will be on Sunday, July 13th. And then we'll have Saturday, July 19th, and Friday, July 25th. So that's 4 meeting dates, which is similar to the number of days that the meeting meets when it happens in person. So going back to how the virtual platform will work. So this platform is fully functional on mobile, but we do recommend using a laptop or desktop computer just for ease of use. Everyone will need to be logged in on their own device in order to vote and request to speak. Multiple voters can't vote from one device without taking additional steps. If you have questions about that, please email that bm-help at email, and our lovely business meeting tech staff, like Anna and Gail, will be able to talk with you about that. We will have 2 test your tech sessions on July 1st so that people are able to ensure that they can log into the platform and address any issues that they're having with logging in. So those are going to be from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pacific time and 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific time on July 1st. And we're hoping that having those 2 3-hour windows will make it possible for folks to be able to log in at some point during that one of those windows, because obviously we know we have folks from lots of different time zones. So once you have logged in, you will be taken into the platform itself. You'll have the Zoom webinar over on the right side of your screen. This is a cropped image. You'll be able to see the full Zoom window. It won't be only half of it. I just cropped it because we all know what a Zoom window looks like. Um, and then on the left side of your screen, you'll see everything to do with the meeting administration. So this is sort of the home screen that will contain some like instructions and general information. There will also be, this is also where you will access the request to speak queue. So you will be able to choose from different options like speak in favor, speak against, make an amendment, point of order, etc. And then when you submit that request, you'll show up in a pool of people who have requested to speak that then I, as the presiding officers, will recognize folks from. If you're recognized to speak, then the Zoom technician will have you come off mute and turn your camera on. Having a camera is optional. Having a microphone is not. And then after you're done speaking, your microphone and camera will be muted again. And then when it comes time for us to vote on something, then there will be that voting will pop up on that left side of your screen. You'll cast your vote. And then after the vote's closed, we'll announce the results. This means that we'll have a counted total for every vote, so there will not be any need for serpentine vote counts, which is great. We are going to have, so this is all about, so that's Lumi, the platform. I'm going to stop sharing my screen because that's the only screenshots I had to share with you. So during the meeting, there will also be an official Discord for folks to use to have a side channel to discuss things during the meeting. So that's going to be run by the Seattle Virtual Division. It's subject to the Seattle Code of Conduct. It will be separate from the full convention Discord because that's not going to be spun up until I believe some point in August. But it's for those of you who are at Glasgow, it's going to function very similarly to when we had a business meeting channel in the full convention Discord. So there will be an on-topic channel. There'll be an off-topic channel for you to put all your memes and your pet pictures so that folks have that place to discuss things. The meeting is going to be run largely the same way that we have always run meetings in terms of we're going to be using Robert's Rules of Order and handling motions and handling debate the same way. We're going to be having, we set limits on debate time. And so all of that is going to function largely the same as you are used to if you have been a participant in the business meeting before. It's just going to be happening online and with Zoom. One of the things that is why we went with Lumi for a meeting platform is because of their expertise in working with parliamentary systems and their ability to be flexible in how they implement some pieces of their platform to work well within our specific rules and how we handle things. Um, so yeah, like I said, there's going to be more specific information about some of these like nitty-gritty details about like how do I know what my username and password is to log in. That's going to be included in the agenda that will be published on June 11th. And then there will also be plenty of help documentation with screenshots. I believe Louie's also going to be creating some custom videos for us as well. And all of that stuff should be that Lumi helps us create documentation that is specifically designed for us. So it's going to be using screenshots from our platform, walking you through how to use things specifically with the request to speak or whatever options that we have. So it should help things be super clear and easy to follow. So that is really the broad overview that I have. And so unless Rosemary tells me that there's something super obvious I forgot to mention, I think I'm ready to take any questions.
All right, let's go ahead
One
and
second, sorry.
sure.
My speakers have this great functionality where they turn off if they haven't received input for a while, which is super great when you're the presenter at a meeting and then suddenly you need to listen to other people. Okay.
All right, so um, what time is close of business? It says submissions for the business meeting was close of business on June 4th. What is considered close of business given that this is across different time zones?
So end of day Pacific time. So 11:59 p.m. Pacific time.
Okay, thank
I'm going to
you.
be completely honest. If it's in my inbox when I wake up the next morning, I'll probably accept it. And I'm in the central time zone.
Okay. Um, we have a question about the validity and the constitutionality. So they've put in that according to section 5.1.1, business meetings of WSFS shall be held at advertised times at each WorldCon. Could you speak to that for us?
Yeah, so I'll be making specific rulings at the beginning of the first business meeting. But in brief, given that it's the prerogative of a WorldCon to define its own boundaries and set its own dates, we don't see any constitutional issues with the time or location of the meeting.
Will participants in the online business meeting sessions be able to join during the session if they didn't pre-register?
Okay, yeah. So there will be a cutoff where you'll need to have purchased your membership in order to join the meeting. I'm still working with Lumi about their exact constraints around when we can get those credential files to them. And so that's the exact timing of that will be specified in that agenda that's published on June 11th. And I would expect that cutoff to be something around like 12 hours, maybe. Like that's do not hold me to that, but that's I think about what it'll end up being. But given that we have distributed dates, anybody who purchases a membership, during the first meeting or the day after the first meeting, will be able to attend the second meeting. Just like, when we had an in-person meeting, if you didn't get there till the second day, you could attend the second day, but not the first day because you weren't there.
We have a question about why cameras are being muted for attendees here and at upcoming sessions, considering that it can have an effect on community building. And they're also asking for reconsideration or just help understanding the necessity.
Yeah. So at the business meeting itself, so that's run via a Zoom webinar. And so the way Zoom webinar works is that panelists, which will essentially be the business meeting staff, are the only folks who have cameras on. And then as you get recognized to speak, you get sort of brought into the panelist group to be able to turn your camera on and your mic on. And then once you're done speaking, you go back into the general attendee pool. So the way Zoom webinar works, that's just sort of inherent to how it works. In terms of this specific meeting, the I think it was just the visual clarity of having the folks who are speaking and presenting being the ones who are on camera versus having I know I find it very overwhelming when there's dozens of boxes of faces, but only one that I'm supposed to be paying attention to.
Okay, we touched on this briefly, but I wanted to specifically ask about multiple people who are planning on viewing the business meeting from groups together at other cons like ReaderCon and WesterCon.
Mhm.
There's concern about limited internet availability and how those people in groups will be able to get more than a single vote. Do we want to direct them to the business meeting help email address so that we can explore that further?
Yeah, if you have specific technical questions like that, I would encourage you to reach out to bm-help at. What I'd state broadly is that um, you know you do need to have a specific folks logged into individual devices. It's not possible to have one login that has 20 votes that are not all voting the same way. Um, and while, it's up to anyone attending the virtual meeting to participate the way they choose, those viewing rooms, for lack of a better word, at WesterCon or ReaderCon or whatever, whichever conventions those may be, those are not official uh, entities of the Seattle Business Meeting. That's folks who are choosing to participate in a certain way. And so that's not something that the business meeting staff has control or purview over in terms of just like I'm not going to be going into y'all's houses and looking at your computer or TV setup. And so please do reach out to BM Help at, and we will discuss with you if you have specific questions about how accessing the virtual meeting will work. But just please understand that, like, if you make the choice to access the meeting in a way other than the uh, sort of general instructions that we provide, like, we can't guarantee that we can't guarantee that you'll have the best possible ability to access the platform.
Um, Another question along the lines of voting, will Lumi be able to count the votes automatically, or will someone actually be counting votes, or will it be both?
I'm not sure I understand the question. I mean, it's similar to like if we had a poll in the Zoom, right? Like everybody would cast their vote and then it would say like 100 people voted yes and 150 voted no or whatever. So I'm not sure. I mean, like it doesn't create like slips of paper for somebody to count. And I may not be understanding what the question was, but hopefully that answers it.
Okay. When people are asking questions, they want to know how they will say whether they are for or against, and points of order, etc., pop to the top of the queue. So I guess reviewing what you mentioned about when you're joining the speaker queue, how
Yeah.
you designate yourself.
Yeah, I'll share my screen again here. Um, So in the request to speak queue, you'll see this option that says category. And so that's a drop down that will be populated with options like speech in favor, speech against, amendment, point of order, refer to committee, etc. And then you'll also see there's a little enter text box there where you can enter additional information. Um, and we will, in the like full documentation, will provide clarification about how we would like you to use that. But just as an example, if you're making a point of order, sometimes it's in order for a point of order to interrupt the speaker if it's a super urgent matter, and sometimes it's not if it's not a super urgent matter. So in that text box, you would provide any specific context about the point of order you're making to allow me as the presiding officer to know if your point of order has precedence of at such level that you would need to, that it would be in order for you to interrupt the speaker, and so for me to basically recognize you immediately. And then basically the pool that I see of everybody who requests to speak will show what they're indicating, what category they selected, and it's grouped in such a way that I can see those items of high precedence to make sure to call on people who are making motions that have a higher precedence than others. And I'll stop
Can
sharing
you
my screen
talk
again.
a little bit about the tech support that Lumi is offering before the meetings or during the meetings? We have some people who know for sure they're going to be logging on at different places for all 4 meetings, for example. So what login support will be available for them?
Yeah. So if you are having issues specifically with your username and password, that's something that I would really hope that regardless of where you're logging in from, if your username and password works one place, it should work all the places. But also computers are weird, and I understand that sometimes weird things happen. But if you're having issues with that username and password, and once again, to be clear, this sort of information will all be in the agenda. You're not expected to memorize everything I'm saying now. If you're having issues with that username and password, you'll actually reach out to us at that bm-help at address, since we're the ones with the access to that credential file. If you are having other tech issues, like you're in the platform and you can't connect to the webinar, or I don't know, anything like that, there is I guess it's not on one of these screenshots. There, I don't remember the email off the top of my head, but Lumi has a designated help desk um, email, and I think actually a phone line as well. I can't remember for sure on that one. And so that information about how to contact them if you're having those sorts of issues is within the platform, and then that will also be published closer to the time of the meeting for folks to be able to reach out to Lumi for um, tech support help if they need it.
Okay. Um, how much business has been submitted so far?
Um, in news surprising not surprising anyone who has worked on business meeting staff before, barely anything. We generally don't see submissions really start coming in until about a week before the deadline, which is close, but not quite here. And honestly, most stuff doesn't get submitted until 1 to maybe 3 days before. So I think we've had 2 submissions at this point. I expect that we will receive more. Um, but yeah, I'm not sure how much stuff we're going to have either. I'm also excited to find out.
People love to wait till the last minute.
Yep.
One person was,
If you want to get on your head table staff good side, submit early. We love it when you do that. Gives us extra time to format it and make sure that remove as much crunch as possible from the agenda construction process.
We had another question. This one was about the cutoff that you mentioned for memberships. I believe that was in reference to those people whose membership is on a payment plan and not
Mhm.
fully paid for. Is that correct? Could you review that information again?
Yeah, so if your membership is on a payment plan, the convention policy is already that payment plan needs to be completed by May 30th, I believe. And so if you're on a payment plan, then that should be completed before we get to the meeting. Um, and so, but if you have any questions about your payment plan or that timeline, please reach out to registration at.
Um, can people join mid-meeting? Can they join when it's already in process?
If you mean join the platform, yes, you can log into the platform at any time. There's not a point where like if you log in 10 minutes after the hour, it won't let you log in. If you mean join the convention, then there will be a point where, for example, that first meeting, I want to be clear, this is not what the exact time will be. Like I said, I still need to get some clarification from Lumi about the exact timeline on those credential files that they need from us. But it might be something like you have until June 30th at 11:59 p.m. to purchase your membership so that we can then get you added to that credential list for Lumi, or sorry, not June 30th. I apologize. July 3rd. I just changed the date in my head. July 3rd, end of the day, for us to then get that credential file to Lumi. But if you did buy a membership after that point, or you buy it on July 5th, you would be able to join the next meeting on July 13th. We'll be updating that credential file before each of the meetings.
A question about bringing forward an amendment.
Mhm.
This person is thinking that given Zoom, if they are bringing forward an amendment, that they might want to have slides as a visual aid. Is that something that someone could do? Share their screen or send slides in advance in order to
So
support the amendment?
So that's something that the business meeting staff will take care of. We generally have slides that show the text of the specific proposal that we're on. And then as, you know, if somebody makes an amendment from the floor, we update that slide showing what the new proposed text is. And so we'll be doing that as well. If you mean, so in terms of showing the exact text of the amendment, we take care of that. Beyond that, we don't allow speakers to present like a slideshow, and that's a standard thing about how. I mean, that's never been a thing that we've done. The slides are for showing like the text of the proposals and the amendments.
There's a few questions about conducting the meeting. So, what happens if there is a successful appeal from the ruling of the chair at the first session regarding the legality of the advanced online sessions as valid business meeting sessions?
Yeah. So if somebody appeals the ruling of the chair, and that ruling is overturned, and more than 50% of the body votes to overturn the chair's ruling, then that would be the will of the body. And we would not have an online meeting, and we would conduct an in-person meeting in Seattle using the same process that we have previously.
Does Lumi support asking a speaker to yield for a question while they're speaking? And if so, how?
That's not something that we generally allow in our in how the business meeting debate is structured. So that's not a functionality that I would expect us to work to enable within Lumi.
Regarding the drop-down options, we have a few questions about those. Do you have an image right now today that shows exactly what those options are?
No, so to be clear, that list, we decide what that list is. So I'll be sending Lumi a list of like this is what the options should be. And they can also update it on the fly. So for example, there are points during the business meeting when we nominate folks to committees. And so at that point, there will be a nomination option for you to nominate somebody, but we don't need a nomination option for any other point in the meeting. And so there won't be a nomination option at those points. So I don't have an image or that specific list yet. That's in the stuff that we are still working with Lumi to figure out exactly what we want that to look like. But when all of that help documentation is created and distributed, that information will be there. But we're able to customize that list to specifically suit our needs and how we run the meeting.
You have a special request for an I don't know option, just, just so you're aware.
Yep.
And does someone need to clarify whether they are pro or con when they are requesting to speak?
Yeah, so if you are wanting to make a speech about a proposal per Robert's Rules of Order, we alternate speeches for and against. And so you need to tell us which one you're wanting to do so that we know when it's proper to recognize you.
Will there be a forum for business meeting attendees to consult each other in a different channel regarding strategizing or commenting about upcoming issues? And will the Discord work for this purpose?
Um, I think it's largely going to be in y'all's hands of how you want to use the Discord. So if that is conversation that folks want to have on the Discord, that's perfectly reasonable. Um, you know, there are often also conversations about items that happen on Facebook, places like the JOF group. Um, that's sort of the biggest of the sort of publicly available options. I guess people often discuss on File 770 as well. Obviously, these aren't official convention spaces, but those are just places that if you're wanting to look around and see how folks are discussing items, especially before the meeting, those are sort of the most likely places to look. But yeah, if you're wanting to uh, strategize or discuss how specific items will be handled. The Discord is probably a reasonable place to do that. Just to be clear, it will not be open for that like entire month period because since the Seattle Code of Conduct does apply to it, we need to be able to have staff who are reviewing it and able to moderate. And so the Discord channels will be uh, read only in like the times between the meetings, and then will be sort of fully turned on, I believe, like a few hours before the meeting, and then a few hours after we adjourn for the day. The exact timing on that, like I said, that's another thing that that exact timing will be included in that information that gets published on June 11th with the full agenda.
And are the business meetings being recorded and being made available afterwards? And will they be available to people who join later after one or more of each individual meeting is over?
Yeah, the business meeting we are planning on live streaming it for folks who I don't know how many people there are in the world who are super interested in watching the business meeting live and yet don't want to participate. But in case those people exist, we are planning on live streaming the meeting, and then it will be recorded and posted on the WorldCon events YouTube channel, just like previous business meetings have been. I guess one thing I should have, when I was giving sort of an overview of what this year's business meeting will look like, the report from the Committee on Investigation will happen in executive session, which means that, so this doesn't mean like when you attend your city council and they move into executive session and it's 6 people leave and go into a room. We're all members of WSFS. So executive session means only members of WSFS. That's all of us. But what it does mean is that there will not be that part of the meeting will not be live streamed for non-WSFS members to be able to view and will not be part of the publicly available recording. And then the way minutes are handled for that is also is similar as well. So we do know that there will be a portion of the meeting that's in executive session.
For procedural purposes, will the in-person site selection business meeting on Saturday, August 16th be considered the next legislative day after the July 25th meeting?
Yes, and thank you for whoever asked that, for saying that and reminding me that I should have said that. So yeah, the site selection business meeting, which is where the results from site selection are announced, will be happening on, is it Sunday? It's day 3, whichever day of the, sorry, or
I think it's
yeah,
Saturday.
day 4. Well, yeah. It's on the website. I get confused because some Worldcons happen on different, Wednesday through Sunday, Thursday through Monday. The website says which day it is. So yeah, that site selection meeting will be happening in person at Seattle, since that's when voting will close. And yes, that would be considered the next legislative day after the meeting on the 25th.
And Jesse, can you share with everyone how much Lumi cost?
Yeah, so actually, you know what? Can I have the chair of the convention? I don't feel comfortable speaking to the convention's budget just like on my own. I do think Kathy's here, so I would just like to get some clarification from the higher ups about if that's something that they feel comfortable with me discussing.
Okay. Um, and while we're confirming that on the side, that includes live tech support, correct?
Mm-hmm.
On call during the meeting, live tech support for all 4.
Yeah, one of the things that's great about Lumi is, yeah, there's live tech support, and we also have uh, a, a designated Lumi technician who's sort of managing the meeting on the back end. Okay, I see that Kathy said that she's okay with us talking about that. So the cost of the Lumi platform, which does include, just to be clear, the licensing for the Zoom webinar. So we're not having to pay for that. And that cost in and of itself, if we were, would be fairly significant. So the cost of the platform altogether is about $20,000. I guess this is a great time for me to thank the Scalzi Family Foundation for providing a grant that is helping, that's covering some of the cost of that. So I know that sounds expensive. One thing that I would just remind folks is that the in-person business meeting costs a lot of money to run as well. It's just that those costs of for example, the facility and the AV costs are largely sort of hidden within other divisions, and not sort of broken out as their own line items, in the way that it is this year, because it's a cost that we're paying to a third party.
So we're going to look and see if we had any additional questions. I know there's a lot of people interested in all of the tech support availability, and all of that information will be included when we have all of the instructions that go out later. So does Lumi have specifically an international phone number, Jesse? Are you aware?
I am not sure. I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure they're based in Scotland, so probably. I mean, I've been communicating with them just fine. Um, but yeah, I don't have their list of phone numbers in front of me at the moment. Um, and that, just to be clear, that help documentation, that'll include things like um, technical requirements and any of that. I mean, like I said, it's fully functional on mobile. So it, I don't know to what degree the technical requirements are super requiry, but any of that sort of technical specifications will have that information.
And they understand that we are an international organization and have people joining from all over. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that does brings me up that I should highlight. So when we were talking with providers, one of the specific things that I discussed with them was what experience um how much broadband essentially was, or how much internet is required to make their platform work, and if they have experience of folks in parts of the world who maybe don't have as great connectivity using their platform. And Lumi has has worked with folks who are also have sort of worldwide um, uh, memberships uh, and has worked with places who, have folks who are joining in from parts of the world where their connectivity might not be great, and they have not, they've their platform works well under those circumstances.
Regarding the speaker queue, can other people attending the meeting see the people in the queue?
So no, so the speaker pool of like everybody who is requested to speak, that's just viewable, sorry, to the business meeting staff. That speaker queue does also function as essentially a Q&A. And so there will be times when somebody will ask a question, and we will probably answer it in a way that sort of shares it out to everyone and not just that specific person if they're asking something that is sort of a request, what we would call a request for information or a parliamentary inquiry. So that is viewable in that sense. Um, but no, the speaker pool of like who all is waiting to speak, that's something that's viewable sort of on the back end.
And um, there's a little bit of a concern about if people's connection drop during a vote or something like that. Is there anything to help people not miss a vote?
So the way the voting specifically works, when the voting's open, you'll have like, assuming it's something with two options, which is obviously the vast majority of what we have. Um, you'll see your yes and no option or whatever, and you'll click it. There's not a like option to like submit it. It sort of by clicking it, that sort of sends it through, and then you can actually even change it if you want to. So once you've clicked it, if your connection were to drop, then your vote would still have been cast, essentially. Um, you know, if you uh if you do leave the platform while things are happening, then yeah, you're not participating in those things that are happening. The same as if, you need to step out of the physical meeting room, you're not there for any votes that are happening when you step out. So if something happens and your connection drops, then until you rejoin, um, you're not going to be able to, vote on items or be in the Zoom or whatever until such time as you rejoin. Um, I hope that answered the question.
Well, is there people don't need to join from Lumi and Zoom, right? Lumi runs on Zoom, but
Correct.
people
Yeah.
need only joins Lumi, right?
Yep. It's an integrated platform. So when you log into Lumi, you still have to like click a button, but it's on the Lumi platform and that brings you into the Zoom.
Okay. And so, although they can't see who's in the speaker queue, will they be able to see who else is attending the meeting?
Um, I I'm actually not sure off the top of my head. That wasn't something that we went over in my call with them, so I will ask Lumi about that. It is I mean, to be clear, I know that there's a I mean, sorry, I say that. I think because it's an integrated Zoom, I'm pretty sure you can still see the participant list in the Zoom webinar. So I think you can see it that way, actually. But we will, we get a report basically of everybody who accessed the platform. And so we'll take roll call that way, essentially similar to our sign-in sheets that we traditionally have used. But I'll ask them about viewing who all is um, uh, who all the attendees are, and if that's just viewable in the Zoom or if there's another place to see that.
Have you predetermined a length of time for a voting window for each motion?
Uh, No, so we have not set that time. Best practice I have found in doing these sorts of things is that we'll start each session with essentially a test vote, which will be about something great like your favorite color. And that will give us a good sense of how quickly those votes come in. And then we're able to use that to sort of gauge how long that voting window should be open, and get a sense for how any sort of delay affects that. I am on the back end, it does show you like how many votes have come in. And so that's also something that we'll be able to sort of stay on top of and see live and make sure that that voting window is open for long enough that it looks like folks are being able to cast their vote.
On the back end, when you see how many votes have come in, can you see if they are for or against?
I believe that's I believe that's something that I can sort of have them turn on or off. So I would probably have them show that to me, just so that um, if there's a very close vote, I would want to make sure to um, be extra certain about leaving that voting window open to make sure that everyone who's wanting to vote gets to do so.
All right. Well, I don't see any other questions coming in. So, if you do have a burning question that you would really like to ask, please submit that to bm-help@seattlein2025.org. And we look forward to hearing from you guys, getting your business to go on the agenda, and seeing everyone at the online business meeting.
Thank you very much.